Plus as a young Don, feel my pain through the song. The first and second ain't work, I heard the third one's a charm. Still I remain calm, maintain my composure. Had to stay focused, a lot of weight propped on my shoulders. I was coming closer to death than living. I had a lot of suspicions about my own decisions back in the past, but I was such a young lad, too little to see the snakes in the grass. But now I'm older and wiser, ghetto survivor.
Andre Levins, aka A+, born August 29, 1981. The child star in entertainment has proven to be the most intriguing but most difficult path to success, with longevity and transitioning into adulthood smoothly the two biggest challenges. Grown-ups are always prone to take a liking to a kid performing a task well beyond their years because they understand how hard and how rare it is to see such talent and advancement. In a grown man-dominated arena like hip-hop, at the time, based around the unique experience of the MC, it was interesting to hear one that at such a young age had the experience, or at least rapped about experiences they shouldn't have had to see 10 years too soon. A+ talked about growing up in the ghetto to less fortunate beginnings, crime all around him, drugs, drug addicts, losing friends, and never being seen on the same level as his teenage peers. Fitting, because that was not the energy he was giving off since the beginning of his career. Usually rapping like some of the eventual hip-hop greats he was around and inspired by, like Prodigy, Redman, AZ, Shyheim, Q-Tip, and more. This was why A+ became popular in the first place. With the same cadence and underdog on a mission approach, A+ was too at just 13-14 years old. He didn't carry himself in bright colors like ABC, wore his clothes backwards for attention like those goofy crisscross kids, nor had the chance to grow into himself around family like the youngsters. A+ was on his own and rapping about the things men experienced, hoping his potential ended up somewhere between AZ, Mobb Deep, and Nas. The 90s was the perfect time to do it too, but for these reasons, A+ results never became close to any of the aforementioned artists. It was time to transition to a more mature flow and sound, and A+ struggled. His debut album came out in '96 called The Latch Key Child, that peaked at 36 on the Billboard Hip Hop and R&B charts. It featured Prodigy, Q-Tip, and AZ, but didn't make the noise it was expected to for whatever reason. Many thought he was different than most kiddie rappers, mature enough not to be seen as one, and should transition well lyrically into one of the best MCs when it was his time to stand front and center stage. Album 2 releases 3 years later in 1999 and didn't perform as well as Album 1, and just like that, A+ was gone as a rapper. What happened to this once child prodigy's potential? Let's talk about it. Salute to K Romance for this request. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth Music. Let's get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. A+ was a rapper from Hempstead, New York that performed in a national talent contest in '95 at 14 years old, sponsored by Def Jam. He won that contest and was able to sign with upstart Kedar Entertainment as their first recording artist. Immediately, there was a struggle of how to market A+, since the kiddie hardcore rapper thing had already been done, as well as the ultra mainstream version of kiddie rap. All that really hadn't been done before outside Shyheim was the kid rapper with substance and a disposition beyond his years. Experiences that made him able to talk about the grief and destruction he's seen in his community growing up, and some good times on the block that made him proud to be where he's from, which was outside the popular boroughs of New York that were melting pots in the 90s for future hip-hop greats. His name, he says, was given to him to mean he's striving for perfection as an artist. Stunt number 1, not being marketed as a child star.
A lot of crazy things going on, you know how the industry is, going through ups and downs. Came in the game real young, a lot of things went over my head.
Understandably, as a new record label, Kedar didn't quite understand how to properly market their young but talented lyricist to the world in a way that kept his street cred, which was important at the time, or an image that could appeal to all markets and give him the ability to grow into a respected artist. In one of the ways I believe they miss with A+ is not marketing him to his age group and younger. In my opinion, they missed an entire kiddie market that could have propelled his music into even more success on the charts, having younger kids attracted to his art and requesting his CD for Christmas or birthdays or just because they wanted to enjoy it. That was a market already tapped, but in a good way, because it showed you how much potential it had if done right and how dedicated those kiddie fans are when it comes to music. Yes, there's a risk of being typecasted into the kid image forever, but you tell me, would you rather have had Criss Cross's rap career or A+? With that said, I think Kedar needed to invest more into finding either a hit record for A+ or a sound he could develop and call his own. He was a good rapper, but I couldn't help but hear all his influences all rolled into one in his music, most evidently AZ and Prodigy. Problem is, they were doing that sound much better. Reading the lyrics to the song Gusto featuring Prodigy without knowing who's who, it's clear who played the lane of ghetto reflection the best. He was marketed as a young grown man, but his skills and experience had yet to reach that point because of his age, so backfired and set him up for failure. Not to mention the target he was marketed to, older males who were never going to take stories of the streets from a child seriously, seeing as they probably didn't write it themselves, and also what kind of man would they be taking pointers from a kid who most likely haven't been through as much in the streets as they have. It was an interesting try, but the wrong one, and caused a missed opportunity to capitalize on the one thing special about A+, advanced youth. Stunt number 2, skills and talent.
Swarm over your ass like vultures around the smell of flesh when it's open. Who you provoking? Tell me, what is you smoking? The inner beast is awoken. I'm coming to conquer, lyrics piercing through armor. Watch the seed I planted grow like a farmer. Teach him to be a warrior with honor and be a leader. Don't follow, live for today, not tomorrow.
Now at the point of no return after being marketed to a grown audience, one must ask themselves, okay, since he wants to be on this level, he has to be judged with kid gloves removed. How good is he as a rapper? Answer, he's alright. Well, in 1996, alright was just never going to be good enough. Mafioso rap and shiny suits were making its push in hip-hop. The Jay-Z's, Biggie's, and Bad Boy Entertainment as a whole, as well as the beef between East and West Coast, about to take shape when Tupac was killed September that year. Rap had everything it needed and didn't need. There was no room for okay rappers that didn't outshine their peers in one of those facets. You weren't ever going to outdo what Pac and Biggie were musically or in the streets as far as how tense and deeply layered that beef got, leading to both their deaths being all anyone could talk about. The reason Jay-Z was still able to come out around that time and have success was because Jay was actually really talented. He also had a unique vocal sound and independence behind him, putting his own money up, therefore able to market himself the way he wanted to give himself whatever he needed to succeed. A+ was an okay rapper, but his bars weren't Jadakiss level special, delivered with the same grit and grime as the subways in Queens like Prodigy, deep and introspective like Nas, and he wasn't into beef and charismatic enough to carry it into his persona like Big and Pac, which propelled their stardom and made their camps tons of money. A+ even tried the shiny suit Diddy dance moves, but talent-wise, it just didn't have the charisma and personality as everything else around him. Stunt number 3, stepping away from the game.
Basically had to take time to sit back, and just analyze things, grow up. Came in the game very young.
By his own admittance, A+ says after his second album, he decided to step back and focus on being a family man instead of a rapper. He had a son in 2001 and wanted to be in his life more than being a popular rapper. Of course, that may have been easy to do because both his albums performed less than expected, releasing the last in 1999 and was probably going to be dropped from Kedar real soon, seeing how much they were losing on A+ anyway. He also says the music business was crazy at the time, him coming in at such a young age, which to me means his business wasn't handled correctly and somewhere someone was gaining off his work more than he was because he and handlers lacked the knowledge to address it early. Or straight up, someone was stealing from him. Either way, it made him leave the game alone, and that was it once you do that as an artist. Time moves on and other artists take your spot. He released a few singles in 2009 and 2012 that didn't make noise at all, solidifying the end to a disappointing career. All in all, A+ was a casualty of the kiddie rap era and hip-hop still being so young in the 90s. Many artists as well as labels were guessing when dealing with these artists, and most got the raw end of the deal. A+ had a spark when he started, but wasn't marketed correctly, skills didn't develop like expected, and the business got the best of his career. Salute, much respect, but for these reasons, his growth was stunted. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth Music, and I'm out.